All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. Joan, roll call, please.
Director Hopkins? Here. Director Kelsenberg?
Here.
Director Lowe?
Here.
Director Peterson?
Here.
Director Corbett? Here. Director Stillwater?
Here.
Here. All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Great, second. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're going to move on to consent agenda, and I'm going to call on Director Thielander.
Yeah, I'm happy to further explain, but I'd just like to just to remove item B, substitute pay rate from consent agenda.
Great. We will vote on one item today on consent with that removed. So that's item A, payment of invoices, October 21st through November 10th. Is there a motion to pass consent? So great. Director Petrie with the motion and a second. Dr. Corbett with the second. All those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and then we're going to turn it over to Director Thielander to address substitute rate pay.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Sermon. So I'm definitely in support of the pay rate increase for teachers on call. I think that we need for continued high-quality subs, and just want to avoid any potential conflict of interest with my wife who's helping out from time to time in substitute teaching. So I'll just abstain from that vote.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Are there any questions? If not, we will vote on the rate increase. Can I get a motion to approve? Okay. We'll have Director Hocker with the motion and Dr. Corbett with the second. All those in favor of approving the substitute pay rate increase for teachers on call, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Great, thank you very much. Okay, next we're under strategic direction A, which is ensuring the learning process is adaptable to meet individual student needs. And we're going to bring Carissa up to talk a little bit about the structural consideration timeline for calendar and start times.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you tonight a little bit of the process that we are going to use to gather information from the community, some feedback related to calendar and start times. So if you remember way back to last spring, we came to you, and Joan, if you can flip slides for me. We came to you with a couple of ideas of ways we might be able to address some concerns we had about student achievement and the mental health of our staff and students. Obviously, those are two very important things to us. We've had a lot of feedback from our community over the years on both of these topics, and more recently, too, you have had conversations specifically around both of these things. In our Pony Plan, what we presented to you earlier this year, these were two of our focus kind of key initiatives moving forward, is to improve student achievement and address those mental health concerns. So we came forward with a couple of ideas. One was around the academic calendar, and another was around school start times. I am not going to get into those proposals tonight. You will hear a lot more about those in December. We'll come forward and bring those back to you and talk to you about the feedback we've gathered thus far. What I wanted to do tonight is really get into the timeline and process as we roll this out to the community to be able to get feedback. You talked about this in the spring, and then we sort of paused. As you know, most of our attention for the last several months has been on the bond referendum. And now that that is behind us, we can start to engage in the conversations about start time and calendar. So we have started already by going out to our staff, and we are having meetings in each of our buildings. Dr. Funk has been at a lot of those. Mark Drummerhausen is presenting the proposals and getting feedback from staff on the calendar and start times. If you remember, just really, really high level, the idea is to start the school year a week earlier, and that would allow us more time for professional development. It aligns with natural breaks in the calendar, which is really nice, I think, from both student and staff perspective, of being able to finish a quarter, take a break. have another quarter, take a break. Your semester is over before winter break, so you don't have to come back and do finals. Or as teachers, you can just be done and not have to worry about grading and coming back. So those are some nice elements there. More professional development is built into that calendar as well, which we think will really help us with student achievement in the end. The start time is the idea of flipping. There's a lot of research that tells us our high school students should be starting school later in the morning. It's better for them just because of their sleep patterns and the way that their natural rhythm works. So the idea is kind of flip-flopping our elementary start times and our secondary start times. There's a lot more work going into that, and we will share that in the future in December. But again, that's just kind of a high-level overview. So we are here tonight just giving you this information. In December, we'll be back. We're trying to get expert to come in and talk to you about the research behind school start times. This is something that has been happening for decades in other districts, so there's a lot of really good research on the benefits of this. So we will have an expert come and share some of that with you and answer questions that you and the public might have. And then in the second meeting in December, we'll really dig into the proposal and let you see that and let the public see that. We're planning on after winter break to have some community conversations so the community can come and hear, ask questions, provide feedback. So there's one scheduled for January 4th and another for January 11th. In the meantime, we'll be sharing information through our website. There is a website now that we've just started. There will be a lot more information added there in the coming weeks, some frequently asked questions, a lot of resources as we hear from the experts on the research, and opportunities for people to ask their questions and get more information. So stay tuned and watch that website. In January, we will come forward with a final calendar recommendation and ask the board to take action on that. And then in February, we're thinking about having that start time action taken. So there's a little bit more time. We know that's a really big conversation. The feedback we're hearing so far, I don't think is a surprise when we're talking about changing schedules. It's how is this going to impact me as a family? Childcare is a big one, and we know that's a major concern with both of these, but especially with the start time piece. So we are doing a lot of work talking to other districts. There's conversations about what we might be able to do to continue to entice people to take some of those Adventure Club jobs so that we can open up more spots in Adventure Club, and there are some plans in place on that. We also know that there's some concerns about activities, so we're getting research, or talking to other districts who again have done this and thinking through those impacts as well. So we're doing a lot of work on the back end so that we have good information as we're going out to the community. A lot of the questions we know are coming up. We're already hearing from people, and other districts have been through this as well, so they have great advice for us. So that's a timeline and process, and I'm happy to take any feedback or thoughts. This is all draft. We can make tweaks and changes to it, but I know we have been having people ask, where do I fit into this conversation? When do I get to have input? So here is the plan.
And we have our student school board members here tonight. They're going to be we haven't figured out how we're going to get input from the students, but that's certainly going to be part of the process. That was done on the slides.
Thank you for that. Yes, I've had conversations with Principal Bach about how we can weigh some of that feedback from our staff, or our students too. There is a feedback form already on our website that our staff have been filling out. Families can also do that, and students can too. And then we'll try to do something specifically at the high school level to get feedback from students. Any questions?
I just appreciate how this is laid out, and that this will be available for people to look at on the website. I know these conversations are really important, and we're always, as a board, trying to balance the academic and social emotional needs of students. So, but it's good to know all of the potential issues, and I appreciate all that you're doing. I know you guys have been all working really hard to explore all the potential pitfalls and come up with solutions. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Can I ask a question? So you mentioned the feedback form would be available for families to fill out as well, but is there any additional survey information, or is it really just come in person and give us your feedback at the community conversations, or through the feedback form, or both?
So the feedback form has really the best way for people to give input. There's a few kind of survey questions of how do you feel about some of the different things that gives us that survey data, and then there's really open-ended, just tell us what your concerns are so that we can try to dig into that and see what kind of solutions we can come up with. So that is available on the website already, and people can certainly give feedback. Also, as you can see on this timeline, there will be more information that we're sharing, so I would encourage the community to take part in these conversations, be looking at our website, listen to school board meetings as we're presenting information. I think that will help as they really get a feel for those conversations and learn more along the way. So I would definitely encourage people to stay engaged for the next couple of months and provide feedback along the way.
Great. Director Petrie?
Thank you for this.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for this. This looks like a great timeline. And I appreciate the fact that you're going to be hopefully bringing in an expert to talk to us about the research on school start times. And I hope you have a way to push that out to the community rather than hope that they're going to watch our school board meetings, because that's not always the case.
Yes. So 2 things on that. These are recorded, so we will definitely be sharing that video and encouraging people to watch it. So through our newsletters and things like that, we'll make people aware of it, social media, so they can go back and watch if they don't actually see the meeting. And then a lot of the information that they share, we can put out on our website and through the other channels too. So some of you might remember back in 2018, we engaged in a very similar conversation about start times, and that's something we did too, was we had someone from the university, a leading expert in this topic from the University of Minnesota, came out and presented information. We still have that, but of course there's even more updated information now. So we're several years beyond that. More districts have proceeded to change start times, and they've done a lot of analysis of what that really means. And not only are there some academic gains, but there's, just lower depression rates, fewer tardies, better attendance, kids staying awake during first hour. Some of those things are what they're finding, and I think it'll be really interesting for you to hear from the experts who have been studying this.
It might be good to gather all that information, just like you did for the bond, and then when people go to our website, it's just right there for them, because this will be sort of a big issue for parents, throughout the district, and it'd be just easy for them to get that information if it's in a similar arrangement
Yes.
on the website.
If you go to stillwaterschools.org/2024 planning, right now, there's some basic information, and we will be adding to that as we have more of these conversations. So you'll see a little bit of that research already, but we will definitely add more as we have some of these conversations.
I remember when we started this initial conversation, we had like comparative start times. Is that something you can put on the website just so
Definitely.
people land there if it's not there already? I'm looking, I don't necessarily see it, but we just started it.
Yeah.
So, but I know we had if we do switch, we're not going to be starting later, really. We're starting later, but in comparison, there are schools that will still be starting earlier than many area high schools.
For the calendar, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if that information can be included from that initial presentation.
I
Definitely.
think that we can include it, but I think we want to share it with the board, and then we'll put it on the website. I don't want to suddenly put it out there and you get started inundated with questions, okay?
I'm talking about what was already presented.
Yes.
Just not
Oh.
the new stuff, but like when we started this conversation, just so they can track this isn't something that we just started.
Okay.
I think I forget, it must have been a month ago now or more.
We originally shared information with you back in the spring, I think it was April.
Yeah.
So we have some of the information that's out there right now, like I said, it's very minimal to date, and it's because it's what we've shared so far, and we didn't want to get too far ahead of this either. So as we have these conversations and more information comes to light, we will make sure all of that's posted out on our website.
Yeah, because I do share that with people when they say, like, for example, I have gotten some feedback on extracurriculars, and I use that chart all the time that you guys had presented back in the spring that shows other high schools where it's like, okay, if other high schools can figure it out, we can certainly figure it out, and, how does that work, so, great. No, I love this, yes.
The passage of the recent bond issue, I think a big part of that was we did a really good job of reading the community, informing the community, getting feedback from the community, and I believe that same process will be good here. Thus, I trust the process that's happening here in the couple months we're going to take before we make a decision.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
this
thank you.
additional information. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to strategic direction B, foster a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment. No, strategic direction C, utilize systems and align resources in an efficient manner to support learning. We're going to have a couple action items today. The first one, action item A, is resolution canvassing the results of the special election. And so I will make a motion to, what? We lost our time.
We just saw superintendent in action.
Oh, 1 second. Hold on, should have Sam go up there.
The resolution is on the screen, and I will go ahead and make the motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second before we roll call vote? Okay, Director Thielander. And Joan, when you're ready, we're ready for the roll call.
Director Hopper.
Yes.
Director Kelsenberg.
Yes.
Director Lauer.
Yes.
Director Petrie.
Yes.
Director Corbett.
Yes.
Director Thielander.
Yes.
Chair Sherman.
Yes.
The resolution passes unanimously.
Great. And on to the second action item B, the resolution authorizing issuance of certificates of election and directing the school district clerk to perform other election duties. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Great. Director Petrie, and is there a second? Okay, Dr. Corbett with a second, and then we will do a roll call vote on this one as well.
Director Hopper.
Yes.
Director Kelsenberg.
Yes.
Director Lauer.
Yes.
Director Petrie.
Yes.
Director Corbett.
Yes.
Director Thielander.
Yes.
Chair Sherman.
Yes.
Resolution passes unanimously.
And I know we don't have a spot necessarily on tonight's agenda, but I do feel like it's important just to acknowledge and thank the community for their support in this last election. I wanted to give Superintendent Funk a minute to speak and maybe have some kind of observation. First time that you've been involved in something like this, and
First time in Stillwater.
yes, in Stillwater. First time here.
So I think, the approach that we took to be more focused on the issues and try and be less contentious, I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
And so, from talking with different people within the community, both within the schools and in the wider community, the feedback I received was they appreciated the approach that we took, and it felt better as a community. So it wasn't an us versus them type of thing. So that's the thing I want to say about it. And I also just appreciate the support. I mean, this is the largest bond in the history of Stillwater Public Schools, and we have support throughout the school district. So.
It really truly addresses some longstanding needs, and I know the board wants to thank you and your team for working. I mean, people don't, I think, truly understand the tireless efforts that go into something like this, educating the community, meeting with the community members. Just, again, it's a team effort of staff and community members and the board, fellow board directors, and administration team. So just thank you to everyone. Thank you to the community for your trust, your support. We're excited to be able to do this for our community and for our students. So now it's the next phase. So.
But, it's one this together. And again, I said to somebody recently, I was at a partnership plan board meeting, I said, there's been a lot of contentious issues within the school district, and I think, we need to be aware of those, put them in our rearview mirror. We need to look back and see those things, but our focus is on the future, and that's working together as a school system. So I think that's
Well said.
That's the direction we're headed.
Well said. Thank you.
That-
Great. We are not done this evening. The board's not done. We are going into a closed session. So I'm going to read that.
Don't you have to take the oath?
You're taking the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3C3. The governing body of a public employer may, by a majority vote in a public meeting, decide to hold a closed meeting to develop or consider offers or counteroffers for the purchase or sale of real or personal property. I will entertain a motion that the meeting now be closed for the stated purposes.
Before you do that, were we supposed to have the updates from our student representatives?
Not
not
today.
this meeting.
No,
Next one.
not
Sorry.
today.
Who's
So
gonna
I'll,
show up tonight?
which we appreciate
used to
that
showing
being
up,
here so you
okay.
can share the process with the students. So I'll go ahead and make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Director Kelsenberg with a second. Okay, all those in favor of moving to closed session, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll go into closed session.